Alpha Blackclaw. Catastrophe strikes. And the sentinel's voice cracked with panic as he crashed through the ceremonial chamber doors. We've lost the twin pups during the Blood Moon ceremony. Theron Blackclaw's wolf-marked eyes blazed amber in the torchlight. His massive frame tensed, leather armor creaking as ancient fury rippled through him. What do you mean, lost? Deep in the Darkwood, 2 white wolf pups circled a dying girl sprawled among blood-stained ferns. The moonlight caught their luminescent fur as they whimpered, pressing their small bodies against her wounds. Fenrir, is that our true mother? Lyra's voice echoed in the mystical bond only shifter kin could share. Yes, sister. That's her scent. The one from our dreams, Fenrir replied, his ice-blue eyes never leaving the unconscious woman's pale face. Behind them, footsteps thundered through the undergrowth. Aldric, Theron's brother, emerged with the search party, Morganna trailing behind in elaborate crimson robes. Fenrir, Lyra, return to our mother at once, Aldric commanded, gesturing toward Morganna. The pup's lips curled back, revealing tiny fangs. That vile witch is not our mother, Fenrir snarled through the pack bond. Morganna's face twisted with barely concealed rage. My precious pups, come to me. Never! Lyra's howl pierced the night, summoning something ancient and terrible. The forest fell silent. Then, from the shadows, Alpha Theron Blackclaw emerged, his presence commanding every living thing to stillness. His eyes fixed on the dying girl, his children refused to abandon, and something long dormant stirred in his soul. The scene Theron encountered defied everything he thought he knew. His twin pups, barely 6 months into their shifting abilities, had positioned themselves in the ancient blood bond formation, a ritual reserved only for true kindred. Their small bodies glowed with ethereal silver light as they channeled their mystical healing warmth into the dying woman's wounds. Fenrir, Lyra, step away from that stranger, Theron commanded, his voice carrying the weight of alpha authority. Neither pup moved. Instead, Fenrir lifted his small muzzle and released another haunting howl, the sacred bond call that no shifter child should know, let alone perform. Morganna pushed forward, her crimson gown sweeping across the forest floor. My darlings, please, you're frightening me. Come to your mother. Lyra's snarl cut through the false sweetness. The pup placed herself between Morganna and the unconscious girl, hackles raised, eyes blazing with protective fury that seemed far too old for her young body. Theron knelt beside the trio, his massive hand hovering over the dying girl's throat. Her pulse fluttered weakly. She wore the simple rough-spun dress of a village healer, and her leather satchel had spilled moonbloom and silverroot across the blood-soaked earth. A bandit's blade wound gaped across her ribs. She's nearly gone, Aldric observed grimly. No. Fenrir's small voice was fierce. We won't let our true mother die. The words struck Theron like a physical blow. Before he could question further, pack law rose in his mind like an ancient scroll unfurling. When pups perform the blood bond ritual, the alpha must honor their choice or risk severing the pack's sacred connection forever. His jaw clenched. Aldric, prepare a litter. We bring her to the stronghold. Seraphine woke to unfamiliar stone walls and the scent of cedarwood smoke. Her ribs screamed with pain as she tried to sit up, and gentle pressure pushed her back down. Easy, mother. You're safe now, a small voice whispered. Their eyes focused on 2 young children, twins with striking white blonde hair and ice-blue eyes. They couldn't be more than 6 summers old, yet they watched her with unnerving intensity. Where am I? Seraphine's voice cracked. Father's stronghold. You've been sleeping for 3 days, the boy answered. The door crashed open. Theron Blackclaw filled the doorway, his presence dominating the room. Seraphine's breath caught, not from fear, but from a strange, bone-deep recognition she couldn't explain. "You're awake." His voice was cold granite. "My children refuse to eat or drink until I agree to let you stay." "Stay? I don't understand." "Neither do I." Theron's wolf-marked eyes bored into her. "But pack law is clear. They've claimed you through the blood bond ritual. Therefore, you will remain here for 30 days as their caretaker. If you prove yourself trustworthy, we'll discuss further terms." Fenrir and Lyra exchanged triumphant glances. "And if I refuse?" Seraphine asked, though she had nowhere else to go. Her grandmother needed medicine, and she was too weak to travel. "Then my children starve themselves to death, and I'll have my answers about why they're so devoted to a complete stranger." His tone made it clear this was not a request. "Choose quickly, healer. My patience wears thin." Seraphine met his gaze, seeing the distrust burning there, and nodded. 30 days. Theron assigned Seraphine to the castle's healing chambers the next morning. A drafty stone room in the eastern wing, filled with drying herbs and ancient medicine texts. The head healer, an elderly woman named Griselda, eyed her with suspicion. "The Alpha says you're to assist me," Griselda muttered, grinding feverfew with excessive force. "Though why he'd trust a stranger with our warriors' lives, I cannot fathom." Seraphine bit back a response and began organizing the chaotic herb stores. Within hours, she'd identified 12 plants stored incorrectly, including deadly nightshade, mixed among the harmless belladonna berries. Her grandmother had trained her well. "Careful!" Seraphine grabbed Griselda's wrist before she added the wrong ingredient to a poultice. "That's bloodroot, not red willow bark. It would burn straight through the patient's skin." Griselda's eyes widened, then narrowed. "You know your craft." Meanwhile, Morganna swept into the healing wing like a poisonous wind. Her elaborate gowns and jeweled fingers seemed obscene among the practical workspace. "Sister," she purred, her voice dripping false sweetness. "How quaint to see you playing healer again. I thought you'd learned your lesson about reaching above your station." The twins materialized from behind a cabinet, Fenrir clutching a handful of thornbow branches. "Auntie Morganna," he said with exaggerated innocence, "would you like to see the new plants we collected?" "Not now, darling." "Ow!" Morganna shrieked as Lyra accidentally pushed a pot of stinging nettle against her silk skirt. "Clumsy me," Lyra chirped, her eyes glinting with mischief. 3 weeks into her trial, Seraphine found herself in the castle's herb garden at twilight, harvesting chamomile for the evening's medicines. The garden was her sanctuary, a place where memories of her grandmother's teachings brought comfort amid the hostile stares of the stronghold. "Still playing the innocent victim, I see." Morganna's voice cut through the evening peace. Seraphine's hands stilled on the plants. She didn't turn around. "What do you want, Morganna?" "Want? I want you to remember your place." Morganna circled her like a predator, crimson skirts whispering against the stone path. "Did you truly think you could waltz into my home and steal my family? Those children are mine. Theron is mine." "I never asked to be here," Seraphine said quietly, though her heart hammered. "The pups brought me." "Because you used some hedge witch trick on them." Morganna's composure cracked. "Just like 6 years ago when you tried to seduce the Alpha at the Moonfire Festival. Did you think I'd let you succeed? That drugged wine I gave you was mercy, sister. I should have slit your throat instead of leaving you in that ditch." The words hung in the air like poison. Seraphine's basket slipped from numb fingers. It was you?" "Of course it was me." Morganna leaned close, her breath hot with malice. "And I'll do worse if you don't leave. Your precious grandmother is so fragile, isn't she? One bad fever and—" A low growl interrupted her threat. The twins emerged from behind the rose bushes, their young faces twisted with fury. Fenrir held a leather journal, Morganna's personal diary, its lock broken. We heard everything, Lyra said coldly. Morganna's face went white. The next morning, Morganna struck with calculated viciousness. She burst into the great hall during breakfast, tears streaming down her face, clutching the torn remains of a sacred wolf pelt, one of the stronghold's most treasured relics. She destroyed it, Morganna wailed, pointing at Seraphine. I found her in the relic chamber with this. She's a saboteur, a spy sent to weaken us. The hall erupted in angry shouts. Warriors surged to their feet, hands on weapons. Theron's face became an unreadable mask as he stared at Seraphine across the hall. I never touched that relic, Seraphine said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. I've never even been to the relic chamber. I don't know where it is. Liar! Morganna shrieked. Guards, take her to the dungeons. Or better yet, banish her into the Darkwood. Let the bandits finish what they started. Several warriors moved towards Seraphine. The twins launched themselves between them and their chosen mother, small bodies trembling with defiance. Father, please, Fenrir begged. She didn't do this. We know she didn't. Theron rose slowly, his presence silencing the room. His wolf instincts warred with logic. Morganna's evidence seemed damning, yet his children's faith was absolute. And beneath it all, something primal in him recoiled at the thought of harming Seraphine. The pelt was torn days ago. Aldric's voice cut through the tension. He emerged from the shadows, holding another piece of the relic. I found this in Morganna's chambers yesterday, while investigating other matters. Morganna's face transformed from grief to rage in an instant. You dare search my private... Stand down, Morganna, Theron commanded. His eyes found Seraphine, and something flickered there. Doubt beginning to crack. This matter requires further investigation. A harvest moon celebration arrived with elaborate fanfare. The great hall overflowed with roasted meats, spiced wine, and the entire pack dressed in ceremonial finery. Theron sat at the high table, Morganna positioned possessively at his right hand. Seraphine had been relegated to the far end, though the twins had abandoned their places of honor to sit with her. The ceremonial wine, my Alpha, Morganna purred, personally pouring Theron's goblet with theatrical flourish. The dark liquid gleamed crimson in the firelight. To your continued strength and the prosperity of our bloodline. Theron reached for the goblet, but Fenrir suddenly knocked over his water cup, sending liquid cascading across the table. Fenrir, Morganna snapped. Clumsy whelp. So sorry, Auntie, the pup said with exaggerated innocence. In the chaos of servants rushing to clean up, Lyra's small hands had already switched the ceremonial goblets, a trick Uncle Aldric had taught them that very afternoon. To the pack, Theron declared, raising the goblet Morganna had poured. But it was Morganna who drank from the poison cup. Within minutes, her face flushed scarlet. Her carefully maintained composure began to crack like thin ice. The binding potion she'd crafted, designed to make Theron violently reject Seraphine, had a devastating side effect: absolute honesty. Those brats switched the cups, Morganna slurred, swaying in her seat. Just like they've been switching everything. Protecting that... Morganna, you're unwell, Theron observed coldly. Perhaps you should retire. I was never pregnant. The words exploded from her lips before she could stop them. I used a blunt switch spell. The midwife lied for gold. Those children aren't from my womb. They're from her. The hall fell deadly silent. Chaos erupted across the feast hall as Morganna's confession hung in the air. Before Theron could seize her for questioning, Fenrir and Lyra created a diversion, overturning braziers and releasing the hunting hounds, allowing Aldric to hustle both Theron and Seraphine out of the hall. The watchtower, Aldric urged. Until this madness settles, you both need to... The heavy door slammed shut behind them. followed by the unmistakable sound of a lock clicking. Aldric's voice came muffled through the oak. "For the record, the pups bribed me with honey cakes. You two need to talk. I'll return, eventually." Seraphine stared at the door in disbelief, then at the Alpha pacing the circular chamber like a caged wolf. Outside, thunder rumbled, and the first drops of rain began to fall. "This is absurd," Theron growled, testing the door's strength. It didn't budge, clearly barred from outside. "My own children have imprisoned me." "They're clever," Seraphine said softly, moving to the window. Lightning split the darkening sky. "They're convinced you're their birth mother." Theron's voice was harsh, but something underneath it wavered. "Are you? I don't know how I could be." Seraphine wrapped her arms around herself. 6 years ago, I woke in a ditch with no memory of the Moonfire Festival. Just fragments, a wolf's howl, silver eyes in the darkness, someone carrying me through the forest. Theron went very still. What else? A voice telling me I was safe, that I was... She trailed off, heat flooding her cheeks. Cherished. The scent hit Theron then, underneath the herbs and fear, her true scent. Moonflower and wild honey. The same scent that had haunted his dreams for 6 years. The scent he convinced himself belonged to Morganna, because she'd been the one in his bed when he woke. But she'd never smelled like moonflowers. Dawn broke over a storm-ravaged stronghold. The watchtower door finally opened to reveal Fenrir's triumphant face. "Did you two talk? Please say you talked." But any response died as a messenger burst into the corridor, mud splattered and gasping. "Alpha, the village healer's cottage, there's been an attack!" Seraphine's world tilted. "Grandmother." She ran before anyone could stop her, Theron and his warriors thundering behind. The cottage door hung splintered on its hinges. Inside, everything was destroyed, medicines shattered, furniture overturned. And on the bed, a note written in Morganna's elegant script. "Your grandmother breathes, for now. Renounce all claim to the children. Leave the territory by sunset. Alone. Or the old woman's next breath will be her last. Come to the old mill ruins. No warriors, no Alpha. Just you, dear sister. Or she dies screaming." Seraphine's hands shook so violently, the parchment fluttered. Theron plucked it from her fingers, his face hardening as he read. "You're not going," he stated flatly. "She's all I have left," Seraphine whispered. "I have to..." "No." Theron's hand closed around her shoulder, and the touch sent electric warmth through them both. "We end this now, together." He turned to his warriors. "Ready a hunting party, and find me those twins. They're the best trackers we have." Fenrir and Lyra materialized from behind a barrel, their small noses already twitching. "We already caught Aunt Morganna's scent, Father," Fenrir reported. "She reeks of desperation, and that awful perfume. We can track her anywhere." "Then let's hunt," Theron growled, and his eyes flashed full wolf gold. The old mill ruins loomed against the twilight sky, its collapsed wheel and crumbling walls testament to decades of abandonment. Morganna stood in the center of the broken structure, Lady Ravenna beside her, and between them, Seraphine's grandmother, bound and gagged but alive. "Always the hero, aren't you, Theron?" Morganna called as the Alpha emerged from the tree line, his hunting party fanning out behind him. "I should have known you'd break the rules." "Release the old woman," Theron commanded, his voice carrying supernatural weight. "There's nowhere left to run, Morganna." "Oh, but there is." Morganna's smile was vicious. She pressed a dagger to the grandmother's throat. "One more step and I witnessed everything." Aldric stepped forward, his face grim. 6 years ago at the Moonfire Festival, I saw you drug Seraphine's wine. I saw you steal the sacred fertility amulet from her neck after you left her in the ditch. I stayed silent because you threatened to claim I'd helped you, but I kept the amulet as insurance." He produced a crescent moon pendant that glowed with ethereal silver light. "That proves nothing," Lady Ravenna shrieked. It proves she was the one blessed by the moon goddess that night, Aldric countered. Not you, Morganna. Morganna's control snapped. She lunged forward, not at the grandmother, but at Seraphine, dagger flashing. Theron moved with supernatural speed, intercepting the blade. In the struggle, Seraphine sleeve tore, and moonlight illuminated her shoulder. There, stark against her pale skin, was a crescent moon birthmark. Theron's breath caught. He grabbed Fenrir's small arm, pushing up the pup's tunic sleeve. An identical birthmark. Then Lyra's, the same mark, perfect and undeniable. The triple moon bond, Aldric breathed. Mother and children, marked by the goddess herself. The truth crashed over Theron like a tidal wave. The scent, the dreams. The way his wolf had fought him every time he tried to accept Morganna. His children's absolute certainty. You are their mother, he whispered. Seraphine met his eyes, and 6 years of stolen memories flooded back. Strong arms carrying her through the forest, whispered promises under the moon, and a love that had been ripped away by jealousy and lies. Theron turned to his warriors, his voice ringing with alpha authority that brooked no defiance. Morganna Ashwood, you are stripped of all titles and claims. You are exiled to the Darkwood, never to return on pain of death. He pulled Seraphine against his side, his hand covering the birthmark, as if he could protect what he'd nearly lost. Seraphine Ashwood is my true mate, the mother of my heirs and Luna of this pack. The twins howled their approval as the pack dropped to their knees in recognition, and in the ruins of the old mill, under the blessing of the harvest moon, a family long separated by treachery finally came home. If alpha intensity, soulmate sparks, and thrilling wolf world secrets are your jam, subscribe now so you don't miss it. Fresh episodes drop every day, and the twists will have you hooked from the first howl.